YouTube. Should be popping on. And hello live Facebook. I am just getting all settled. Welcome to Monday. I'm Dr. Paul. For those of you who are popping on already, welcome, welcome. I am be right with you. We're going to go over the healthy mind. I hope we can always share. Let's see if I can get my comments here. All right. So, how you doing? Welcome to my live podcast. Hey, Rachel. God, I haven't seen you in a long time. You are up early. 7 a.m. I always do a healthy mind. For those you can see it, great. I'm still waiting for a couple of things to pop on and move about. I got a couple cameras working. I am Dr. Paul, and we're going to go over healthy mind. Last week we went on, so welcome to everyone. I got a bunch of things going on, so if I skip a beat, because I'm working on a couple of different cameras at the same time, please excuse me. So, healthy mind. We were talking about the healthy mind last week, and we know there's three phases of the mind. There's the rational mind, there's the emotional mind, and there's the wise mind. So, through the weekend, someone had asked me, why these three segments of mind? Well, actually, there's more. And there will always be the conversation or the argument, as best as phrased to be, is there more levels of mind? Well, in scientific research, and I love science, most of you people know, I do a lot of teaching on emotional education, emotional sciences, with the physical arts, with the emotional arts, with the mental arts, and spiritual arts, because that's my combined love of passion. And then in the metaphysics world, everything is always combined between mind and matter. Like you've heard me before, one of my favorite is Dirac. He was that whole mind-body, was the first exploration on that. And behavioral sciences has been looked at as somewhat of a logician, right? Behavioral sciences wasn't looked at more of the mind as it was more mathematical. And what I mean by that is because you have to have certain things to develop certain things, right? So what is the mind, right? That was one question. Where does the mind come from, and how does the mind get developed? Well, I have my 5 E's up here. Those you can see it. You know, you have I call it the emotional blocks too. They can be positive, but they can be negative. But here's the blocks I know we have to get over, and what they are is energy, education, environment, expectation, experience. And I'll explain this, and if you guys want to go back to last week, you can go back on my YouTube channel, Dr. Paul W. Dyer Grandmaster, on my YouTube channel, and you can see that. So the 5 E's are something that we always going to have, just like our 5 senses. Our 5 senses is something that we're just always going to have, and that's a taste, touch, sight, smell, and hear. The energy of our life is just something that we're always just going to have. So it doesn't go away, and it doesn't stop. But if we don't understand what our energy is, right? What our education is, and education is not so much. Most people think of education as something in a school or in something that is being, but it's something that's being taught to you, right? That's what education is. Environment. Well, that's pretty simple. We sometimes had said that what's your environment is something that you've been brought up in. Things are around you, but your environment are things you're connected to. Things you are connected to. Whatever environment you are connected to, whatever thing you're connected to, that is your environment. And it doesn't have to be your immediate area, right? Because if your child lives in another place, you're connected to them through that connection. So your environment is very, very large. That's why you've heard so many people say that we're all connected, because we are. Okay, so expectations. Well, expectation is it's not an argument. It's what you are living in. It's really what you want to live in, and it's really something that you are pointing to as one of your staples to get there. If you have any questions on the emotional mind, or the healthy mind, or the rational mind, just please put in your comments, and I'll get to you either after the show or during the show. I'd like to see some of the questions that pop up. If you have any questions. Today we're going over the wise mind. Actually, the whole week we're going over the wise mind. I'm going to explain it here. So, where does so you have the emotional, you have the rational, right? You have the emotional and you have the rational. With this, in the middle here, and you can read this, but I want to talk about, and then there's the wise mind. It is the connection between the two. And what I want to talk about, and really I want to go over, and this is not the only one, but this to me here, there's a pyramid to the wise mind. And the reason why there's a pyramid to the wise mind is because the wise mind, I believe, has more to do with consciousness. That's right, consciousness. And there's a high level of consciousness, and then there's a low level of consciousness. And in the low level consciousness, I just want to use my marker, so that's okay. So in my low level consciousness, I don't know if you can see that, so I'm going to write it again. It's survival. And in the high level of consciousness is service. So consciousness and the wise mind, and the wise mind has the connection between the rational and the emotional mind. Okay, so let me see. Thank you guys. You guys on YouTube had a different crazy angle. So this is the difference between the wise mind. It is the connection of the rational mind and the emotional mind. Okay, so and then in the wise mind, I believe there's consciousness, and the higher part of consciousness is service, and the lower part is service. In the middle there, that's what has been debatable, and that's what the science has been trying to formulate its rationality. That's funny, rational. It's trying to formulate what is the wise mind. And I brought this out here because, so most of you know I've been a martial artist for, my whole life. And this morning I was practicing Iaido, and then some part of Kenjutsu. But the sword, the reason why I brought the sword is because it's the spirit of your soul of self, even as it moves, right? Even as you are working your form, right? You are bringing your wise into understanding of what your emotions are and what your rational brain is. Over here, we know that we have talked about the frontal lobe of the brain. And when we are working on the frontal lobe of the brain, and we are trying to understand what we are, we keeping everything in what you call cognitive action, right? And cognitive actions is very important because in this time, and this goes back to what I was talking about, the rational mind, is that the reason why I started this is because it is a lot of people are in home around the world, around the country. Some people I know are doing their exercises, they're doing their meditation, they're doing their prayer, they're believing. Some people are coming over, but there's still this word that's out there, and it bothers me, and I'm going to put it in red, and then that's the crisis. And that word is going to cause so many of us. Hey, no, hey, you doing? My wife's on. So these words are going to cause the brain to produce a chemical state, and in that chemical state, this came up where it gets lost. Because if you're developing what you call consciousness, and the highest level of consciousness to me is service, and the lower level of consciousness is survival. Why is it the lower level? I see someone just asked me, why is it the lower level? Well, that's the first thing that all of us Homo sapiens had to develop, was a thing of security, right? Safety, food, and shelter. That's survival. That is at its core, it is survival. But when you're talking about the wise mind, and you're combining the rational mind and the emotional mind together in your state of consciousness. Now, we can get into what you call the subconscious state, and that's what you call an active state that's more active than consciousness for some. And how do you know that? It's because if you understand that every action you do has a consciousness about it, that means active breathing, right? Even right now, I'm actively breathing, even while I'm talking. I'm actively thinking. I'm formulating. I'm taking my time so I can convey. But do we do that all the time? Are we understanding how the words are coming in and being filtered in, and how and as it comes in, remember, as things come in, it develops into a filter. What's the filter? I hope you got this down. So, I don't know why I keep using that green. That doesn't work. As it keeps coming in, right? So as information keeps coming in, and that's what we have to understand, is that this is all information. It has nothing to do with the 5 E's, and that's what I was talking about. The 5 E's has a lot to do with how this information is being filtered into this system here. And this is what you call the internal. Now, here we have the brain. And as everything comes into the brain, it also comes into the body. So everything is being filtered in, but it's not just being filtered in first from the brain. Remember that. It does take a big chunk of it, because we also have the heart, okay? Things getting filtered in from the heart also through vibration. The body also picks up vibration. This is where the wise mind is working its hardest, because you have vibration coming in from the fields of the body, right? If those of you who practice different yoga techniques or meditation techniques, we know we have different portals within our bodies, right? We have the different areas that we can combine all our bodies in, and how we connect all the information. And all this is just information, right? All this is all these lines are, it's just information. As the information comes in, it touches to the brain. How it formulates in the brain depends on what you categorize the word that you're listening to, or the event, or the environment, or the education. All this comes in, but you forgot about the vibration of the code too, right? So the wise mind has to pick up what the body's doing, what the mind's doing, right? And what all of its other things have been gone through prior. Because if you just go back into the survival mode, which is the bottom, it only results back into where you've been and how you handled it once before. Okay? It has nothing to do with what's a good idea to do now. So if you don't know what's a good idea to do now, and you're only going back to what you have been through or what has worked for you or what you've seen have worked, then you're not even in a conscious state, right? And that is where the wise mind has to work its hardest, is develop the conscious state of now, okay? If you have any questions, you can always contact me through drpaulwdyer@gmail.com or drpaulholisticscience.com. So some of you have some questions pop up, and I see that, and I will get to you, especially here on some of you guys are more active here on YouTube. That's great. Because I got YouTube, I got Instagram, I got Facebook, and then I got Periscope all going all at once. So, well, thank you for all coming on. I just want to appreciate that. Every morning at 7 a.m., I'm going to go over what the mind is, the healthy mind. This week is the wise mind. Last week was the rational mind. And then the next week after that is going to be the emotional mind. Now, someone's had asked me, wouldn't the wise mind, if you're going to talk about the rational mind and then the emotional mind, and it's the link between the two, and I'll put the link back up there again. It's those three circles, right? It's the three circles. If the wise mind is here, wouldn't it be understanding to both sides? I actually think no, and the reason why, and then I'm going to, and the reason why is because this has more to do with your consciousness. Now, what's logic? You know, when I talked about before as a logician, like there are many theologians and many people throughout history has been studying what consciousness is, what the mind is, and what it isn't, and it has been studied and it has been used, and yet we are still not all agreeing, but we can agree on this. What is matter? Matter is all things. What is mind? Mind is the connection of the understanding of matter, right? Now, your mind is connected to the matter because it has atoms and cellular, and then of course all the brain brain chemistry. And I get to the brain chemistry on the wise on Thursday about. But this is just to understand what the wise mind is doing and how it's bringing both forces of both sides of the rational and the emotional together. And the reason why I showed you the sword is because in our practice we can connect both things together in a practice. Because when you have a practice, when you have a training, and when you have faith, you're going to combine all those things to develop what you call a conscious state. Are there higher conscious states? Yes. Many modalities have talked about it. Many religions have talked about it. Many practices have talked about it, but I'm not going to get into those things. But you can practice what you call a higher state of consciousness. Because if you only work in the survival code, and this is the information that's coming in from the different words that are being used, just like crisis, pandemic, and sickness, or death, or even the good stuff, happiness, joy, marriage, love, kids, babies, any information that's coming in, it's how you are filtering it into the internal brain, right? And then the vibration is feeling in the whole body, and then now connecting both of those rational thoughts and the emotional thoughts is the wiseness. Okay, so remember, so this is not a discussion on what wise is, because wise, wisdom, short for wisdom, the paradox between it. Some neuroscientists, and I love neuroscience, some neuroscience says that it's hard for us to be the observer. Well, with the wise mind, we are just that. We are the observer. We have to be able to look at ourselves as a neutral thing, and some scientists say some scientists say that's impossible, because once you realize that you're looking, then you know you're looking, then it's all gone. That's where the practice comes in. That's where the different exercises comes in, because you can put yourself into neutral state. You can put yourself into neutral action where you understand what is going on. What do you mean by vibration? Vibration, so vibration is caused by wave patterns, right? So the Earth is hit on a megahertz, the way the evolution, the way the stars, the way the moon, it all has what you call a push pull that creates a wave pattern. So vibrations picked up by everything. That's why when we do our wuji, when we do our different forms of relaxation and meditation, we are picking up the waveforms of the earth. Okay, that's why when we pray, it's a waveform. That's why when we meditate, it's a waveform. That's why when we are doing anything positive, it's why when we do anything negative, it's a waveform. Things we do when it comes into physics, is a physical action, that it creates a motion of action, right? Those are the waveforms. So thanks, honey. That's my wife had asked that question. So that's what a waveform is, and waveform picks up. Your brain picks up waveforms because remember, we are what you call a central antenna. That's really all we are. In man, and this is my own personal philosophy. Man means medium and transformation. In the middle of service and survival, there is transformation, and in that transformation, you have a choice, right? But if you don't understand, and this is why I do this, this is not what my opinion is, I'm just trying to get people to put together their own practice and science and training. Because if you don't understand where this is all coming from and how you are being affected, then, I said this on Friday, you're either the puppet. What are you? The puppet master, the puppet, or the strings? And if someone else is going to be the puppet master, whether it be the news media, whether it be the things you read, whether it be your family, whether it be all the things that are moving you into what they want to move you in, and for you to act and react and to change and to argue, there is no such thing as an argument. There are differences of opinion. Here's my thing when it comes to an argument. If someone cannot explain their viewpoint and explain your viewpoint, then they haven't really heard you. And that's where wise mind dissipates. It just separates. Then it moves either towards more the emotional side or more of the rational side, meaning like my rationality is more, it's a moreover system. I am not into the moreover system. So again, I like to keep this short and sweet. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on A Healthy Mind. And this week, we're going to go over the wise mind. Tomorrow, we're going to go over how to practice. We'll do practice because I want to do the physics and the science part on Thursday. But we're going to go over how the meditate of the mind, of the wise mind, how we can do that. I wish you all good luck, good blessings, and stay healthy.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair. Connected successfully.